The committee now welcomes the testimony of Mike Gallagher. Without objection, your written statement will be made part of the record. Mr. Gallagher, you're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair Graves. I appreciate it. Had I known 2 years ago that this committee would be in existence, I probably would have chosen my words on reform more carefully and thereby given myself a chance to be appointed to the committee. But I actually view your work as the most important work that we'll do this Congress. And I say that in all seriousness. I recognize that I'm still a relatively new member of Congress, and so I'm sure what I have to say will induce some eye rolling, but it's my belief, and I think I'm not alone in that belief, that until we change the process through which Congress operates, the people may change, the jerseys may change every 2 years, but the results will be roughly the same. And until we confront that growing lack of trust and faith by the American people in the institution of Congress, we're going to continue to get worse outcomes. So I'd like to talk about one source of problem and a corresponding solution, and that's the budget process. It's my belief that the current division between authorizing and appropriating committees, which goes back to the days of John Quincy Adams, and ironically was intended as a way to avoid shutdowns, continuing resolutions, dysfunction, and policy finding its way into appropriations bills, has itself become a recipe for shutdowns, continuing resolutions, and gigantic omnibus bills. I believe we need a budget process that drives Congress towards compromise rather than polarization, and that encourages consistent legislative work rather than creating periodic crises. We can all agree that our budget process is broken. We are, in fact, just a few weeks removed from the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, and though this latest shutdown was longer than usual, it is now common for Congress to budget by crisis, and this chaotic budget process and related shutdowns make no sense to the people who elected us. It doesn't have to be this way. I believe you could get a random group of people from any one of our districts, certainly from the great state of Wisconsin, where me and Mr. Pocan are from, get them together, and in about 30 minutes they could solve a lot of this stuff. But the process is so dysfunctional here that we have a problem having an honest debate. So we've talked about reforming the budget process for years. It should be clear by now that our inability to follow regular order poses a direct threat to the health of this body and our nation. Look at everything every incoming speaker has said about the need to restore regular order. It then quickly gets forgotten. We, Congress, are supposed to be the central player under our Constitution, but we no longer are. We have surrendered all of our authority to the executive branch, particularly when it comes to the power of the purse. And I believe that the barrier between the work of the authorizers and appropriators is a major source of congressional weakness. One of the main reasons Congress has lost its central role is because the budget process has severed the power of the purse from the basic legislative work we do every day. We can make that legislative work more meaningful for all members by uniting the authorization and appropriations processes. This would give the committees the ability to work on reaching numerous smaller agreements throughout the year, rather than waiting for the appropriators to agree on a large and at times unwieldy package that is more likely to end in gridlock. We should begin by simplifying the committee structure, perhaps by reducing the total number of committees to better correspond with the number of major executive branch departments and agencies. This is not a new idea. A committee similar to yours in 1973, the Bowling Committee, I believed, actually recommended this idea. We never did it. And then the Patterson Committee in 1980 actually went back and said, no, we should have implemented the 1973 reform. So we go through this every time. We recommend a consolidation and to change the committee structure, but for some reason we never do it. Critically, I believe healthcare could be consolidated into a single House Health Committee, which would be positioned to take a more holistic view of our healthcare system, and at the same time, in order to jumpstart our stalled budgetary and appropriations procedures, the appropriations and authorizing functions could be combined with the duties of the Appropriations Committee reassigned to other standing committees. These committees would both authorize and appropriate funds for the activities of the executive branch agencies they oversee. I know this is a radical change. I know I'm new, and I'm sure there's things I'm not talking about, but time and again, if you look at the history of congressional reform, the successful periods have been one in which they have restructured the committee process and devolved power back down to every single committee. That was the result of the reforms in the 40s, led by another great Wisconsinite, Bob La Follette Jr., and I believe that is a task before us. In order to make Congress itself more powerful, we have to make the work of each committee and each committee member more meaningful every single day. Thank you for listening to me, and I wish you the best of luck on this critical mission that you have.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman Gallagher. And with that, I'll invite up Susan